Now, who is Theophilus? Who is this guy? Theos, God. Philos, brotherly love. So essentially, he is the friend or lover of God. He's most likely a historical figure. The name may be a pseudonym for protection. We don't know, but we're talking about an actual person here. He actually, as many physicians at one point in time in their life, and this could have been true of Luke, they were Roman slaves. And most physicians were trained under a master, and they were kept in-house as slaves. And after being born again, Theophilus may have released Luke to go on a missionary journey with Paul and just simply said, hey, you can stay out there. I'm born again. I'm saved. They need you more than I do. And he released him as a medical missionary for God's glory. Most physicians in Rome were slaves. It would be like a billionaire saying, you know what, I don't want to go to the hospital and be around all those other sick people, especially now we have the pandemic, and hiring, saying, look, you know what, you're making so much money in your private practice, I'll tell you what, I'll pay you just as much to come and live in my house and serve my family. If we ever get sick, you're the go-to guy. That would be kind of what would be like. Now, perhaps Luke's patron was this man. He could have also been the patron who said, you know, I want you to write me down what happened. Set forth this history of the life of Jesus Christ. And we find that Theophilus is a disciple. Now, the reference to him is most excellent. It's most likely a reference to a high position of authority in Rome, like Your Majesty or Your Honor. He may have been a government official or the patron of Luke, as Luke wrote his history about the life of Christ in the early church. Now, there's another option, very serious to be considered. The Gospel of Acts, which is essentially Luke part 2, Luke the sequel, okay, ends with Paul awaiting his court date for his appeal with Caesar. Luke and Acts might have been court documents. There's some evidence of this. As I said at the end of the book of Acts, Paul's still waiting. And there would have had to have been somebody who paid for this, who paid Luke while he was doing his research and who supported him. And so that was most likely this man, Theophilus. He's clearly a disciple. He's received instruction. Okay, the Greek there for instruction is where we get the term catechism. Now, although the later concept of catechizing new believers in that sense shouldn't be read into this here, but that is where they get the term, where a lot of denominations get the term of the catechism. It simply means instructed in the basics of the faith. Theophilus was familiar with at least the basis of the Christian doctrine. Perhaps not rooted and grounded, but at the minimum, he knew the basics. He was a disciple. The events surrounding the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ were well known to the early disciples, and Theophilus would have been in that group. At the time of this letter, there was a lot of interest in the faith, which explains why Theophilus said, hey, this is great, let's pass this around.